Do we have a microphone? Yes, we do. Thank you.
There. 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Never rains, it pours. I'm telling you. We had a little glitch. Took us a while to get sorted out. We lost sound. Well, we didn't have a microphone. It's been a morning already. Hi, everybody. I'm glad you joined us today. I know in the U.S. it is still the Thanksgiving weekend, so there's probably like nothing but football on. And that means that computers and tablets and televisions have been confiscated by the men folk so that they can watch their football games. So hopefully you have a means of watching today. We've got tons of people here, though, which is great. Elizabeth Allard and Sue Braun. Hello. Gremlins again. Yeah, you've no idea. I'm just going to go with sunspots and leave it at that.
I haven't seen the sun in a few days.
No, we haven't seen the sun in a few days. It's been very rainy and cold, and we're bracing ourselves for snow. So we're expecting quite a bit tomorrow from what I gather. And there's Janet Demon and Louise Long. Hello. Nancy Lewis from Northern Virginia. Nice. And Gail Wolseley, Lois Pritchard, Rescue Auntie. Hello. There's some neat names in here I don't recognize. And the T-Wife, I know that one. And Linda Safranco says, hi, Renee.
Hello.
Oh, my goodness, everybody's in here. I guess the husbands aren't watching football. And Layla, can't wait to watch you live. Well, thank you. And Bernice Rauch, hello.
I just found you on Facebook, she says.
Yeah. That could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. We'll have to wait and see. Today we're going to be painting Hello Birdy. I really love this piece. This was an older design. I've had it kicking around. It's been sitting in my stack of line drawings for quite some time. I did a variation of it a couple of years ago with the little bird in a flower pot and built some other techniques in and around it. But I was playing with this one. I really like this design. There's something really charming about it. Don't ask me why. It's just, I like it. And daisies are one of my favorite flowers. And it needed a little bit of color because, well, it's all black and white. So we're going to have a little bit of fun using a very limited palette.
I'm curious.
What are you curious about? It's working.
Okay.
Okay. So tap on the microphone to make sure it works.
Well, I was confused.
Okay.
It's not showing up as a condenser microphone.
Okay, well, it is showing up here.
Yeah, it's showing up.
Yeah.
I thought it was that camera's built-in microphone.
Oh, okay. No, everything seems to be working just fine. There's Sandy Barton, Dee Stratton. Hello, Dee. And Deb Daniker. Hello, sweetheart. There's some amazing people in here today. Thanks for coming. Yeah, you did miss me last week. We couldn't get anything working last week.
And so we posted the video.
So we posted video instead. So, yeah. Robin Storm. Thump, thump, thump. And Anne McGaw. Hello, sweetie. Goodness. 44 here in Arkansas this morning and windy. Burr. I guess that's Burr. Yeah. And Kathy Williams. Hello from Tennessee. Well, it's so nice to see you guys. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this one. I really like this. It kind of, those black and white checks just work for me. There's something about a black and white teacup that just does it for me. I have no idea why. But we're going to do this little piece right here with the little bird in the teacup. It's a fun one. It's done on an 8x8 art panel or canvas. It'll work either way, or a similar surface. Try to find something that's going to work for you. So we're going to be doing that. But before we get started, we do have some giveaways for this week. We have a set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes, and we also have the kit for, what is the name of that kit? My brain shut off.
Merry and Bright.
Merry and Bright. It's a breadboard. It's for a breadboard with little birds on it. I kind of stuck with the bird theme for today, so that's what we're going to be giving away today. And of course, we always tuck some other goodies in there. To get your name on the wheel for the giveaways, all you have to do is join us in the chat and hit all the buttons. The subscribe button, the like button, the follow button. Just hit all the buttons. It just makes everything easier. And then join us in the chat. Say hello or good morning. The names go on the wheel at the end of the day, and we spin the wheel, and 3 people will be receiving a giveaway. So that's all you got to do. Now, aside from that, I think we are ready to start painting this one. It's called Hello, Birdy. Okay, what's going on here?
That's a great question.
Uh-oh. And Judy's Touch decorative painting. Yeah, that's not good. I was trying to figure out how come you could see my cell phone when it's not even on the table. Oh, no.
Sometimes it just needs to wake up again.
There we go. And it's upside down.
That one is.
Yep. Okay. Hello. Sooner or later, we'll get things all sorted. Debbie Carlton asks, Renee, hope you are feeling better.
Uh,
The same. He's the same.
Not better, not worse.
It's not better, not worse. So
That's the best way to describe it. Not better, not worse.
there we go. So this is such a fun project. It's not as difficult as you think it might be. The biggest difficulty in this is base coating all those little white squares. And so because of that, I wanted to get ahead of the game. I used 2 coats of warm white to base coat all of these checks. The background is done with 2 coats of lamp black. And I let it dry between coats and sanded it and applied the second coat. And when that was dry, sanded it as well. Now, the trick to doing a nice smooth background on one of these art panels is to apply the first coat following the grain of the wood. And in this case, the grain was running horizontally. And then once it was dried and sanded, I applied a coat vertically on this surface, let that dry and sanded it back as well. Then I wiped off all of the dust with a damp cloth. And then I was ready to trace and transfer. Once the image was down, I base coated all of the little white checks and the stripes with 2 coats of warm white. And $10
From the D-Wife.
from the D-Wife. Aw, thank you. We can't wait for next. That's what we forgot to talk about. Jeez Louise. I'm brain dead some days. Today's one of them. Next Saturday, before I forget, again, next Saturday is our 12 Days of Christmas live. It's going to run a little bit longer because we're doing a larger project. But it's also our annual fundraiser for our local animal shelter. This week I'll be putting up a PayPal link for donations on the website. And you'll also be able to make donations through the $ here in the chat window. So you'll be able to make donations there. And everyone that places a donation, whether it's on PayPal or on the YouTube channel, you will get your name on the wheel. And we have 3 framed, finished pieces of original artwork to give away. So we'll spin the wheel and 3 of you will win a finished piece. Not only that, but we also have 12 boxes of goodies to give away. And so those names will also go on the wheel. So everybody's names will go on that wheel. And we will be drawing those throughout the day. So with 12 boxes of goodies, we have a number of companies that have donated to that. We have Sheila Landry at tollpaintingdesigns.com. We have our beloved T-Wife, Kathy McAllister, has sent oodles of goodies to put in there. We have stuff from DecoArt. We have brushes from Dynasty. We have stamps. We have stencils. We have so much stuff. and including some beautiful surfaces from my pal Deb at touchofprimsy.com. So all kinds of cool goodies. We have things from Sandy, pardon me, from Sandy McTeer. We have all kinds of fun stuff. I mean, I could not possibly list it all, but we have 12 fabulous boxes and they are choking full. So we will be sending those out to 3 winners, or to the 12 winners of those. So we have lots of things to give away, and we're really hoping that you will help us support our favorite charity, which is our local animal shelter, which, by the way, currently has 12 dogs up for adoption and a mess of kittens. And they just got a pile more. So we're really looking and hoping for your support there. Yes, Denise, I have to agree. I have some amazing people that support these lives in particular, not the least of which is Decawart and Dynasty Brush. We have stuff from Tombow. We have stuff from the Stencil Studio. We have stuff from, oh boy, a whole bunch of companies. Derwent has got some stuff here. I mean, you name it. We have all kinds of really beautiful gifties going into those boxes, and we have 12 of them. So I'm excited about next weekend. So, and I will be posting some pictures throughout the week, this week, of the 3 pieces that, the 3 signed original pieces that are being given away to those who, as part of a draw for donations. So keep your eyes peeled, because we have some really, I think they're pretty. Who knows? We will see. But we do have some really nice original artwork. So there you have it. So today we're going to be doing this piece. I love this. I just love this. I think there's something about a birdie tucked into a thing of flowers. And what inspired this was I have a planter that I keep at my front door throughout the summer. And one summer I had a little junco build a nest in it. And it was super cute. So, yeah. So this is what we are painting today. There's Nancy. Somebody asked me what's for dinner tonight. We're having pot roast this evening. Got a nice little chunk of beef. Gonna have a nice pot roast tonight with all the trimmings, mashed potatoes, and all the goodies. That's my plan. Have I posted? Yes, but I'll absolutely be happy to show you again. So this is the project for the 12 days. It's an old-fashioned washboard with the chickadee and the holly berries and the lettering and some sparkling snowflakes and this pretty distressed little washboard surface. The surface is from A Touch of Primsy. I really love this one. We have the kits here. Most of them have already been shipped. We do have a couple more that are going out. We are sending them all out by Purolator so that they get there quickly. The mail has been such an issue recently, so that's how they're all going. So we only have a few left going out this week, but which also means we only have a few kits left. So I'm pretty excited about this. I love, love, love this surface. I just think it's so stinking cute. And now you could put almost anything on it. And the kits come with one of these, the little mini ornament. This is the little washboard that you can put together to create the ornament. And you can use elements from that. But yes, such a super surface. I just love it. And this little ornament, we put one of those in the kit as well, just for fun. So that's our project. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I have mine all done. Now there is a tabletop in this original here, this line right across here. And I drew it on a little low on this one, but that's okay. And the technique for this is super simple. You're going to use your favorite dry brush. You can use Dome Stippler. You can use your, as I said, your favorite dry brush, or you can use the stencil brush, which is what I'm going to use. So I've laid down tape at that tabletop line, and I've actually put that in the wrong place. So I'm going to take that off and show you how to do it right, because, you know, hello. Every once in a while, I have one of those days where, you know, the elevator doesn't go to the top floor. Today is it. So I want, yeah, see what I did? You're going to place your tape line. I still did that wrong. Hello. Just even. Make sure that it's even. That's the only thing. And you're going to put your tape below the line. So that you're going to take your stencil brush, nice clean one, and a little bit of warm white. And your brush should be almost dry. Make sure you blot on a piece of paper towel because you don't want to put a big gob of white paint. So I'm going to start on my tape. Always start this on your tape and then work in a circular fashion like so. Nice and soft. So if you start on your tape and you make a boo-boo and you get a smear of white, it's going to be on the tape, not on the surface. So just that foggy little haze on both sides, and then remove your tape. And keep in mind when you are removing tape, especially on a freshly painted surface, to put your tape back on itself at a 45-degree angle. And there is your highlight on the wall behind your teacup. Super simple. And then make sure that you erase any pencil line, like I have mine in the wrong place. So, and then you have a nice, crisp, clean tabletop. Easy peasy, right? So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to paint our bird. And the reason I want to do the bird first is because I can fill in all of these other things after the fact. Good morning, Heidi. Now, I'm going to grab, what am I going to grab? I'm going to use a rigger or a small round. I just find that there's my round. Small round will do nicely for this. And the color that I'm going to use is cobblestone. I like this color. Cobblestone is a nice color. Oops. Good God, don't shake it when it's open, Trace. Paint everywhere now. So cobblestone is a nice color. It's a very warm, soft gray. And this is how we're going to use it. I'm going to stroke in a series of feathers. Just like that. And I'm going to leave a little space. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to leave a little space between each of those feathers. So just like that. Sort of like fish scales, if that makes any sense. There you go. So if you look closely, they're just like little fish scales. And then you're going to fill in our little bird with one coat. I've added a little bit of water to my brush. It does not need to be fully opaque. You'll see why shortly. And then get down into those areas around the daisy like that. And let the paint run out a little. It doesn't have to be fully opaque. Oop, not enough water in my brush. There we go. Those little spaces between the feathers, they're going to be a little less noticeable very shortly. But then we've got that little bird tucked in. Note, not perfect, doesn't have to be. Hi, Judy. Judy Galt is fighting with Facebook this morning. We were just fighting with tech. So we were a little late getting off the ground today by just a few minutes. So there we go. That's our little bird. Now I'm going to take a little bit of that cobblestone. Just pull a puddle off to the side a little, like here. And I'm going to add a little bit of warm white to it. I just want to make something similar to sand gray. There we go. If you have sand gray, go ahead and use that, but I do not at the moment. So I'm just mixing a little bit of warm white with it. And then I'm going to make a nice little highlight. Again, not enough water. Just want to give the chest a little color, like so. And I'm going to bring that color down a little, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the forehead. And I'm going to let it run out towards the back of the head, like so. So our little bird is starting to take shape. And that, if you don't have the sand gray, you can just mix it with a little bit of cobblestone and warm white together and will give you a nice lighter value. This is just such a fun and easy piece to paint, honestly. I'm going to switch to a small angled shader. Very small. I'm going to use, I think a 3/8 should do it for me, if I can find one. There, nope, not that one. Good gravy. Where is my, there it is. I was looking for my faux squirrel angle. So our little bird, we're going to start with the side of his face there. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that lighter gray that we mixed. And I'm going to make a little series of tiny little floats like fish scales. Just like that. So you can see tiny little fish scales. And I'm doing those with the sand gray. And then I'm going to use that color to also highlight the tips of these feathers. And it's just a little float. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just building up a little texture here. And I'm also going to take that color out to the tip of the tail. Now, on the tip of the tail, try this. Stand the brush up on its chisel edge and pull back. So it just gives the edge of those feathers a little texture. And then we have to use my favorite color, asphaltum. I love this color. I think if Decaward ever discontinued asphaltum, I wouldn't know how to paint. I'd have to find another color. Aw, Norma, that's a sweet thing to say. There's Gail Moe. Hello. Hi, Bobby. No, actually, the checks were just painted individually. And they're just 2 coats of warm white. So I'm thinning out a little bit of asphaltum. And we're going to start with a little float down in behind those daisies, down in here. Like that, just to deepen that color underneath our flowers. And we're going to put a nice little float of asphaltum at the base of the tail here. And I want it fairly deep. And I'm going to walk that up to about roughly the halfway mark. And this part is fun. We're going to add a little texture to the back of the head. So we're going to use just a few of those little strokes, little U-shaped floats over top of that first set of little floats that we did. Just tuck them in between. That light and dark is going to give you a really interesting texture to the back of the head. So she's going to have some really cute little feathers back there. Just so you can see. And then we're going to float right underneath all of those layers with a float of asphaltum. So float under your feathers, just like that. This part is always a little troublesome because they're tiny little things, right? But as long as you get them separated, you're okay. Get that little float in. Separate those feathers. Look at that. So now it's really starting to look like something. And there's a float underneath that wing and up under that little chest there. Now I like this part because for me this is what shapes that eye. I'm going to use a float directly underneath the eye and onto the cheek and out to the point. Bring it out so that it meets that point on the bill. So now you have this little shadow under the eye. And I'm going to come back to my warm white. And we're going to put a little float of that warm white. Oops, a little too strong. Need to thin it. There we go. I'm going to go over the eye. And then I'm going to let that little float run out, but keep it directly opposite. So right on that little line. See how it forms like a cheekbone? And now we're going to highlight with some little floats of warm white in between all of those little dark floats that you've done. Little float on the forehead, warm white, And on the chest, this part for me is just, I love this. To me, this just makes the bird, having that little fluffy chest. Just need little floats. Again, think of them like fish scales. You'll have an easy time with it. I like that little, see those little feathers? They just make everything so fun. And it makes our little bird look fluffy. And I like our little bird to be fluffy. Now, all of these feathers are going to get a highlight. Right at the edge with that warm white. Little tiny float. Don't be scared. I just love how this little bird pops together. And then we're going to use a color that is kind of different. But I'm finding more and more uses for as time goes by because I'm really liking it. There we go. So look at our little bird. Now, tail feathers. A little bit of that warm white. Remember we took that sand gray or that light mixture of gray out to the end of the tail. Well, we need to brighten it out there. So I'm going to put a nice little U-shaped float. I like a little U-shaped float. It crisps things up really nicely. Look at those tail feathers. Look at that. I love these little birds. So we've got a color called Twilight. Such an unusual color. You wouldn't think to use it in something like this, but watch this. I love that this color makes everything pop. I'm going to use a very small amount of it. Very small. And I'm going to thin this out heavily. So, because it has sort of a purplish tone to it. I don't really want it to be purple. So I've thinned it out dramatically. And I'm going to put a little float of this to separate. It's heavily thinned. Heavily thinned. We don't want this colorful strength. So I'm going to use that to deepen that shadow. So if you have areas where perhaps your bird is not quite dark enough, you can go in with a float. Or areas where there's still a lot of black showing, you can bring this in. And then a little bit directly underneath that wing. And then I'm going to come back in with a float of asphaltum over top of that. But I need to dry this really well. You could use a Prussian blue. You could use, as long as it's a good transparent blue, you'll be fine. So I'm going to come back in with a little asphaltum. And this sort of helps get rid of all of those areas where there's a lot of black showing. And that's okay. There we go. Oh, I just love this. I'm also going to deepen my feathers over here because I really want a contrast. And then I'm going to put a tiny little float right there, just underneath the bill. Yep, the surface is an 8 by 8. So I'm going to dry this and then we're going to add a few little details because I like my details. So I'm going to grab, I'm going to use my 10-aught liner, and I'm going to bring in a little bit of warm white, heavily thinned warm white. on my liner. And I love doing this part. I just take my liner and I'm just going to give it some light little details. Just little strokes that sort of give everything a softness. And particularly here. I like seeing a little fluff at the top of the head. So I'm just putting in very fine little strokes of warm white. Now, the beak is all black. And you really don't have to do much for this except to define it nicely. Just give it a nice sharp beak. And then I'm going to use just a thin line of warm white to highlight the top of the beak. Doesn't have to be much, and it doesn't have to be very big. Just a fine line. Now I gotta find my liner brush. I'm going to pick up on the end of my handle a glob of lamp black, and where that eye goes, I'm going to put a nice perfectly round dot. And then we're going to dry that very well. Hi, Judy. So I'm going to use a nice little dot of warm white on that eye. And I'm going to do it on the upper left. Now, the fun part is if you want to add a little detail to this, you can put a nice little line at and above the eye. You can add more little strokes. There's nothing wrong with a few little strokes at the top of the head. Those little strokes just add more texture to our little bird. Now, when I was painting this one, of course, I somewhere along the line lost the space between the feathers. So I'm just going to take a liner and put them back in. There we go. So our little bird is not difficult to paint by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's super cute. Yeah, the checks do have sort of a Mackenzie child feel to them, I guess. That wasn't my intent, but I guess Mackenzie child is so well known for them, it's difficult to avoid. So our next step is to tackle these leaves and flowers. I love daisies. They're my favorite flower. They're simple, they're pretty, and you can put them in almost anything and it works. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So leaves, we're going to paint the leaves with a little bit of lush green. And I'm deviating from my usual black green or plantation pine. Hi, Dorothy.
Keys to the mailbox?
Can it wait till I'm done? And then I'll dig them out because you got to go digging through. I don't know where I put them. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. So we've got leaves, lush green. Lush green. I'm using, I just got a bunch of these the other day. These are from Jack Reichison. I really like them. This one is a signature brush, but I'm just trying them out. So here we are. Lush green on each of these leaves. Like so. I use one coat. You don't need to put down a really heavy base coat simply because we're going to be putting a ton of other colors on top of these. So it's not going to matter. There we are. I like these little leaves too. They are so fun to paint. And I always base coat following the shape of the leaf. It just makes things simpler in the end. Voila. Easy peasy. Lovely, lovely leaves. This lush green covers well. So you don't have to knock yourself out trying to cover anything. It covers rather well. And it's such a pretty great color. There we are. What am I missing? I don't know. There we go. I think I've got them all. Double check, but I think they're all there. So our shading color for these, I went with something a little bit different. Usually I use like a black green or a plantation pine, but in this case I'm going to use something with a bit more phthalo in it, and we're going to be using this. This is black forest green. It's not a color that I use often, but I really love the tone of this, particularly for this. So I'm going to make sure those leaves are dry. And this is the color we're going to use. I love black forest green. Now, how did I get the checks contoured? I used a French curve. That's how I did it. I drew my cup, and I used a French curve to separate them. I did not want them to be exactly precise. I always like the squares to be a little wonky. It makes things more interesting. So, black forest green. So shade up underneath the flowers, up underneath those petals, with a nice wide float of black forest green. Et voilà. So that shadow does not have to be perfect. And we're just doing that shadow underneath and at the base of the leaves first. Like so. And any little leaves that are tucked away under here, Little float. Doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to be putting, as I said, a whole bunch of other colors on there too. So there we go. I like the U-shaped float. It has a tendency to give that leaf a little more of a curve. And it makes things simple. There we go. So I'm going to dry that. Right now it looks very dark. If you look at it, it looks very dark. I like the handle too. I found a photo. I have a whole bunch of teacups, but I found a photo and it had this really elegant handle. It was on a very flowery teacup, but I really liked the handle, so I thought I would try something a little bit different. Now, our highlight for this is going to be margarita. I love that high yellow green. It's gorgeous. I'm gonna rinse my brush out. We do need a center vein on our brushes, or on our leaves. My brain's not functioning. So I'm going to put a float of that green down the center vein. Comme ça. I love a nice center vein. The nice part is that as you're working, if the center vein on something doesn't work, or if it gets fuzzy, or if it gets muted because of the colors you put over it, you can just go ahead and put a second float in place, and it will give you a really nice shadow. Crisps things up very nicely. Here we go. Oh, I love it. Love it. Juncos are so stinking cute, and I like them too. They look like they're wearing little tuxedos. So, highlight leaf. We're going to use a nice little float of margarita. And we're going to start by going down the center vein opposite the shadow. Bring it out to the edge a little on both sides. Center vein. The trick to floating like this is getting that whole chisel edge of the brush on the surface. That's the trick. If you don't have the whole chisel edge on the surface, if you're just using the tip of the brush, you're not using the brush to its full potential. The brush is designed, an angled shader, so that you can get that whole thing on the surface. So, down that center vein. There you go. Floats are so much simpler when you use the whole brush. And that's the big trick, to use the whole brush. Yeah, French curve is used the same way in sewing as it's used in drafting and painting. It's just an easy way to get those nice curves consistent. And I need one more. What am I miss? I still think this one is just not bright enough. There we go. Now, if you want really bright highlights on this one. You can always use a little bit of neon. I love a little neon. It creates just the most beautiful highlights. Look at that. Birdy. So now we've got nice bright green leaves. The 3/8 tends to be my go-to. 1/2 inch and 3/8. Those tend to be the ones that I use the most often. So look at that. So we're going to take my liner brush. I just realized I missed a leaf. And an important one. Hello. There we go. Oh, now I missed that. So we'll dry this. There we are. Look at that. I have to quickly paint that leaf. Look at that. I messed up my rhythm. I paint very quickly, but I have a very loose method of painting, so it goes quickly. So now that we have the leaves shaded and highlight, we're going to go to those berries. Now the berries, I love this color. I am just over the moon for this color. Tea berry. It's not quite a red, not quite a coral. You can't even call it salmon because it doesn't really fit that color either, but there's something about tea berry. It nearly glows. So because we're on a black surface, a very dark surface, I'm using a little bit of warm white first, just so that the tea berry really stands out. If I put it right over the black, it has a tendency to just be muted and subdued, and I really didn't want that. I want this color to be bright. I want this color to really stand out against all of that black. So here we have this beautiful, beautiful color. Goes on really nicely. There is our color. Oops. Oh, goodness. Did a cable fall out? We got sound back? Okay. There. Lovely. This bird? This is just a bird. What inspired it was a little junco, but this is just a bird. Not any bird in particular, just a bird. Look how pretty. I love that little shot of that pink in this. I just think it really makes everything pop. That bright pinkish orange coral color, whatever you want to call it. I just love that it has that little zing in this piece. So the next thing we're going to do, it is a fast piece. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it is a very fast piece to paint. The one that takes the time is painting all of those little white squares. That's the pain. So we're going to grab a round. You can use a round or a filbert. Where's my round? There's my round. This part, I think, scares everybody. There we are. So a little bit of warm white. I'm using a number 4 round to do this. Now these daisies are done in one go, quite honestly. And it usually scares folks, but they're done in comma strokes. So I start with the one at the back and I pull back towards the center. Like so. Try not to overthink them. Now, there is a petal in behind this bird that you're just going to paint in quickly. Same with the one above and below his beak. I just paint it in really quick. Like so. This little one in behind here is just like that. So there is our first daisy. And then the rest of the daisies are over top of our little bird. I've always loved painting daisies. They're so fast and easy and pretty. And how can you not love a daisy? There we go. Look at that. Super simple. Ta-da! Oops. Oh, I messed that one up. The nice thing about paint. So I like the daisies. They're just a very common flower. They grow wild. And there's something charming about a daisy. Asteracea. That is what they are called, Asteracea. Asteracea, so daisies are related to the aster. They are related to the sunflower. Carol, the brush that I'm using is a number 4 round. And Karen, I'm actually really liking these Evo Art brushes. They're very soft. So if you're used to something with a little more stiffness, you might not like them, but I think they've grown on me. Particularly the rounds. I really am quite happy with the rounds. There we go. Look how simple that is. That's why I like painting the bird first, because then I can layer everything over. And it works quite nicely. There we go. There we are. And this is quite a nice round brush. It actually works quite well. There we are. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Now I like to base coat the centers of the daisies with a little bit of warm white, and it's just a little patch. It doesn't have to be perfect. I had daisies in my bouquet as well. And mauve colored roses. There we go. What's a willy wagtail? Who sells Evoware brushes? I believe that the brush guys have them. Interestingly enough, Linda, I think I have round brushes in almost every line of the Dynasty brushes, but the ones that I use the most often are the smaller ones. Marilyn McBay, where can I purchase Jo Sonja Fast Drying Glaze? You can get it at josonja.com. You can also get it at Erica Joanne's website. She also stocks it. And if you're in Canada, you can get it from countrybear.com. They're based in Ontario. What would be a good substitute for tea berry? A good substitute for tea berry. You could use, just hang on one sec. Coral. Coral will work. And dark salmon, or bright salmon, sorry, will also work. Those are really great colors. Oops, that's not it. This is another color I've really come to love. This is Baby Duck. I just love this color. This soft yellow. This is the color we're going to use for the centers of these daisies. And I'm going to use my round yet again. And we'll paint the centers of our daisies with Baby Duck. And again, I've used a coat of warm white because of all that black. Yellows don't cover very well at the best of times. And so trying to put a pale yellow like this one over top of black can be a little problematic. It tends to gray it out, and then it's not a very pretty thing. So one coat of Baby Duck. Be generous. We're going to dry that. Hi, Puddin'. There's my pal Deb. For Canadians, you've got to go check out Deb's website, the Touch of Primsy. She has got surfaces, her laser cut surfaces on there, and she ships all over Canada. So go and check that out. She's got some great stuff, including some of my surfaces. So go and have a look-see. So look at those. Our daisies are coming together. Art on Wings. Counter surfing land shark. Oh my goodness. Ours says our land shark does not counter surf. Thank God. I'm so glad for that. But she does other things. Like her aggressive cuddling. So we're going to shade our daisies with a little bit of Bahama Blue. For me, daisies take on a little more life when they've got a little other color in there. So we're going to put a float of Bahama Blue right at the base of the petals. And in behind, look at that. I love this color. I love what Bahama Blue does for white daisies. So it's a small float. It's just down at the very base of the petal. Like a quarter of the way. just like that. I'm going to do that to all of our petals. That little tiny float of Bahama Blue. I love Bahama Blue. This is such a great color for white flowers. It's my go-to color for shading white. And then I also use asphaltum over it. It gives the blue and the white a little coolness and or warmness, I should say. That little bit of asphaltum just changes the white drastically and gives it sort of a soft greenish tinge, I think is the word I'm looking for. And it's fun. And this is a fun piece to paint. Once I got past all those little white checks, then it became a whole lot of fun to paint. So there's our shading, all those little bits of blue on our white petals. And then we're going to pick up a tiny amount of asphaltum. You're going to blend it out really well because we don't want this full strength. It'll just flatten everything out. And you're going to go right over top of that Bahama Blue with a weak float of asphaltum. So that blue can separate all of those petals. And then you're going to put a little float of asphaltum over top of it. And it's going to deepen everything. Going to give our flowers a nice little edge. Look at that. Oops. A little heavy-handed with the blue, with the asphaltum. There we go. That's better. I love asphaltum. There we go. So we've got, see how it gives it a little more depth in there? So we've got that shading done. We're going to come back to that tea berry color. And we're going to put a shadow right at the base of that center, like so. Nice little float right at the base. This is going to give the center of our flower a little elevation and a little height. So it pops up, it doesn't look flat anymore. Look at that. And then we're going to dry it. Look at that nice little glow. So then, before you rinse out your brush, you're going to put a little float right at the top in the center of the flower. It's a little half circle. And this is going to tell you what kind of daisy this is. It's called a bullseye daisy. See that little shadow? There's that little dip in the middle. It is tea berry on the center, yes. So I'm going to dry that really well, and then we're going to deepen that tea berry with a little bit of asphaltum. I know, I love that little bit, that little pop of tea berry in the center of those flowers just makes them pop. So you're going to take a tiny bit of asphaltum and you're going to make a small float right at the base of that tea berry, right at the edge of the petals. And that just deepens that color, or tones it, I guess is the word I would use. Makes it look a little darker and creates a little shadow very close to those petals and in the center. So pretty. I love that color. That color combination is really, really pretty. Love it. The really incredible part is how close we are to finished. You're going to be so surprised. So our next step is to enhance the center of these flowers. I'm going to do that with a liner brush. I'm going to take a little bit of warm white, and we're going to make just a series of little dip dots at the top area, like so. Make sure some of them come out onto the petals, just little dots. Now, if you prefer to use the stylus or the end of your brush or whatever you want to do that. Whatever your preference is, don't you go right ahead. I like tiny dots. I used the end of my brush for the other one and they get a little big, but that's okay. Here we are. Little white dots. How fun. And by coming past the edge of the flower, the center, and onto the petals a little bit, it just keeps things looking softer. So then we're going to use a little bit of asphaltum, and we're going to do the same thing at the bottom, just fewer. I don't want this to get really heavy looking down here. Here we are, a few little dots. And again, come past the edge of the center and onto the leaves. Or onto the petals, sorry. It just makes things look softer and more delicate. There we go. Look at that. I love this look. Our little bird is really popping out of there. So we'll let this dry, and we're going to tackle a few of the smaller details. And first thing we're going to do is tackle those berries. So we need a little dab of country red. Just a little dab. Thanks, Sue. So, little shadow. Little float to the right side of each of those berries with country red. Like that. Easy peasy. Can you check this mic? It keeps falling out.
What?
This thing kept falling out. I don't know if I've got it shoved back in there right. Is it okay? I was sitting here and all of a sudden it just dropped out. I suppose it's possible I tugged on it somehow. So there we go. I've got a little float on the right side. Oh, almost had to sneeze. Yeah, you heard Renee running down the stairs. There we go. Nice little shadow on the right side.
You still got another bit?
Yeah, we're getting there, though. Quickly. What's up?
20 after 2.
Oh, you're going to take Renee out? Or not Renee. Maze?
Yeah, I'm just going to take her to the park and
Okay.
wear her out because she doesn't want to eat for some reason.
Oh, okay. She's being persnickety today?
She's being persnickety. Let's go wear out that puppy.
So we're going to put a little highlight of thinned warm white on the left side of our berry. I've got a little too much paint on my brush. So, flute, there we go. I like to soften it, so I have a tendency to dip my finger in it every once in a while. Oh, Renee doesn't need a run. Maze needs a run. Our puppy dog is refusing to eat. And she does that from time to time. She self-regulates, so. Yes, she has a good daddy. And a good grandma and a good grandpa. And I think you should be around here. That dog runs the roost, I'm thinking. So, oh, this is really coming together quite nicely. So we're going to put a final highlight on our berries. I'm going to use my liner again. And to the upper left, right on the edge of our highlight, I'm going to put a dot of warm white. I like them to look lush. And that highlight really makes them look. Hello, Lori Fuller. Good to have you with us. So I'm going to dry this really well, and we're going to start developing that teacup. Milo. What a great name, Milo. So there we are. I'm going to, just so I don't smear little dots all over the place. So we're going to start shading our teacup. I'm going to switch to a 1/2 inch faux squirrel angled shader. And we're going to shade the teacup with a little bit of asphaltum. And again, you're going to blend this out fairly well. And we're going to float underneath the rim of the cup with a float of asphaltum. Up underneath those leaves, like so. There's a nice little float. And I'm going to float little color over top of all of that handle. It's just easier because we're going to put in a highlight anyway. So the whole handle gets a wash of asphaltum. Lori Fuller. Lori, if you're in the States, you can order them from decoart.com, or if you're in Canada, check with Stockade in Southern Ontario. So once that first float is dry, we're going to put a second one in. Up underneath, under those leaves. We want this fairly dark up here because it's up underneath everything. Look at that. And then we're going to float down the left side of the cup and across the bottom of the cup, like so. And again, underneath the flower to get that shadow in. And then up the right side of the cup. Now the float on the right side is going to be wider than the one on the left because this is our shaded side and our light impact is on this side from down this way. So I'm going to deepen that float in there and my teacup handle with a little more asphaltum. Don't worry if it's getting dark, it's okay. But our shadow on this side needs to come about at least a full third of the way. So we're just going to have this open area towards the left center. And then we can deepen this one. This one's only going to stay like a 1/2 inch wide. This one's going to come almost like 3 rows of those. See, count 3 rows of checks. Look at that. And then down here, the base of this cup, going to be underneath the leaf, like so. This side gets a float as well. And then across the bottom. You're going to leave a small area open just in the center. So our cup is really starting to take shape. So I'm going to dry that really well. And then I'm going to take a little asphaltum and I'm going to add a touch of lamp black to it. Essentially just to make a nice dark brown. But I want a transparent brown. So then we're going to put a float about a 1/2 inch wide right there. So it's a little bit darker. And then I'm going to dry it and do it again. So that shadow in there needs to be quite dark because it's the one that's furthest away from the light. So we have a nice shadow and we need another one in here. So up underneath, there we go. Now remember, we used the stencil brush to do that light dry brush back here. We're going to do a little dry brush on the center of this cup as well. So I'm going to use my stencil brush again. And again, I'm blending this really well. I want this brush almost completely dry. And we're going to do this in a circular fashion. And it's left center of the belly of this cup. So we're going to end up with a really bright spot right here. And then let it fade out. So there we've got a really soft dry brush in there. Yeah, it did look muddy until then. So we're going to take our angled shader and pick up a little bit of warm white. Just a little, I don't want a lot. And I need a light impact point right about here. So I'm going to put a float right there, just to create that line. Do you see? It's subtle, but it's there. And then our round brush is going to pick up a little bit of thinned warm white as well. And we're going to put a light impact point right there. Doesn't need to be perfect. It's just going to split some of those black ones. That's why I wanted that black line there. So I'm going to come back to that mixture of the black and the asphaltum, and we're going to darken these little bits in here. That's that rim of the cup peeking out. I'm going to darken that there a little bit. Here we go. just to darken that rim so that it's not standing out too much. And then we're going to add a highlight to them with a small stroke of warm white. Same with the edge here, that little bit. We want a little stroke of warm white there, and a little stroke there. The cup comes together very quickly, primarily because we've already established the curve by using that French curve to get that. Iris, are my stencil brushes stiff or soft bristled? My stencil brushes are actually a synthetic, and they're a nice combination of both. They're nice and stiff, but the flag end or the business end of them is nice and soft, so you get really nice soft look to it. No deep scratches and things like that in the finish. That's why I like these ones. The synthetic, you can't kill them, for one thing. They don't break, they don't dry out. They're a fabulous, fabulous brush. So our little piece, the body of it is pretty much done. We just have to do all of those things that are going to connect everything to create all the softness that we want in this piece. And this is how it goes. It's super easy, really. I'm using a little bit of thinned margarita first, and I'm going to add just a touch of warm white to it. Not that I necessarily want a lighter green, but I just want something a little more opaque. And I love this part. So we've got some grasses in here. This is just that little filler stuff. You know, there's always some of it in pieces, but I like to, especially grasses and whatnot, they make things look softer. So I like to bring some of those in. There we go. So all those little lines that you see sticking out of the cup, those are the things I like. And we have little vines and tendrils. Those little curlicues and things that are tucked in behind. I love those. Here we are. And any little stems that you see that need to be connected, this is the time to do those. I like a nice curlicue, and I like a nice stem. So you see how those little elements just soften everything. They give everything that But this is also something that I love doing. I take that thinned margarita and just do a squiggly line. Connect my leaves, do a squiggly line. I like those little lines outside of the leaves, just soften everything. They just keep things from looking too hard-edged. They keep things looking delicate. And I like that delicacy. It's softer. If your center vein isn't bright enough for you, if you need another highlight, you can stroke one in. I love it. Just all in all, it makes the leaves nice and soft. And you can also connect your berries to one another with a little line. Look how pretty. Easy peasy. Oh, I still missed a couple. Good gravy. We still have work to do on our daisies as well. Well, we will finish those details shortly. So I've got one last little leaf to do. Now I use the word hello for this because I just think it's cute. This has a more contemporary feel to it, so I really wanted something with a more contemporary font. So the one I chose has that sort of modern look to it that I really liked. So we're going to dry this really well, and then we're going to trace and transfer our lettering on. Now the fun part about this lettering is it can go wherever. It doesn't have to go where I put it. If you prefer to have it up here, go right ahead. So let me try that, but I want to come back to the handle here for a minute. I'm going to pick up a little bit of warm white on my round, and we're going to put a simple little stroke to highlight our handle. Just a little. I think that this handle gets lost in translation if you don't add, bring that texture back a little bit. So I do that with just a few little comma strokes on those curves. So let's dry it. And I'm going to use a gel pen. I love my black gel pen. I'm going to use my black gel pen. We're going to detail our daisies. Now, if you prefer them as they are, then by all means leave them that way. I'm a fan. I like the little details that black gel pen will bring to those petals, which is a little texture. I like the scribbly look. That appeals to me. So I do my scribbles. But as I said, it doesn't necessarily appeal to everyone, so you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But I like the little scribbles. I find it adds a little texture to them, and it helps make them stand out a little. So that line can go on the petals, off the petals. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like so. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I mean, it doesn't look like a big deal, but it does do something for these daisies. But again, it's not to everybody's taste, and I'm okay with that. It's, it is your piece when you're painting it, so you can pick and choose what you want to do. But I like the texture. I do this quite a bit with things. I do the same thing on bumblebees because I like bumblebees. I like their wings to have a little bit of texture, so I tend to use it. There's a couple of petals on this daisy, though, that desperately needed something, so. Easy, easy, easy. So cute. We're going to do a little something to our teacup just to give it a bit more texture. And I've got a spot here I'm not thrilled with, so I'm going to take a little asphaltum right here. I just wasn't, tickled pink with that flower. It wasn't pushed back far enough to suit me, so push it back a little further. Little shadow there just to push that flower back a little further. There we go. This, although I've never had it bleed on me, I usually seal everything with a light coat of matte spray first before I varnish, just to be on the safe side, because not everybody uses the same varnish. Some varnishes will make it bleed, some will not. So I prefer just to seal everything with matte spray beforehand. What can we name the bird? I just called him Birdy because, that was very original. But Birdy works. But I think he's cute. I don't know. To me, he looks more like a wren than anything. But he isn't really any particular bird per se. What is it? Oh, is this a laminated? Oh, my tabletop. Actually, this is the tabletop is vinyl wallpaper. It's a repositionable vinyl wallpaper. That's what it is. So we've got our little details done on our leaves, but we do need to put the lettering on. I just want to make sure everything is dry before I put this paper over top of it. Yeah, so sweet. Yeah, I think it looks more like a wren than anything, which is a bird we don't have much here. So I'm going to reposition my line drawing back on my surface. And I'm going to tape it into place. Maybe I can get it straight if I'm careful. There we go. Oh, my stars and garters. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving in the U.S. There we are. So I'm going to use a little bit of white graphite underneath, which is what I used. I'm going to, this is like a handwritten script, which really appeals to me in a lot of ways. And it is very simple. I'm taking my time because my hand is shaking and I don't want to make a mess of this. There we go. Hello. There's something about that little hello. Now, you can use a little bit of white paint and a rigger to do this, but I am in love with these, especially for this simple little font. And it's so much less intimidating to do this. So this is a white Posca pen. It's a 1.3 millimeter. You could use a 0.72 if you want it finer. I just rather liked it. So to prime them, give them a good shake to mix the paint. Pump them up and down until you've got paint coming out. And then just trace the lettering. Just like so. Now, if you're going to use a rigger to do this. Just use a 0 rigger. It's a little finer. I think a 2 might be a bit big. But look how cute that is. You gotta love that font. I just think it's so pretty. So I'm going to dry that really well, and we're going to tackle a couple of finishing things. And there are a few that I want to take care of. I want to make sure that's good and dry before I do it. There we go. Yep. So I have my favorite black eraser, Factus Black, Tombow Gel. Any of them will work beautifully. They don't mar or polish the background, and they take off the graphite quite nicely. So all you got to do is get rid of those graphite lines. You know, the ones that are showing anyway. I like getting rid of them. It's something about that step of eliminating all of those little icky lines. It just cleans up your work so nicely. There's no, polished spots anywhere, which I think for a lot of us is so frustrating. Those shiny spots, and you varnish over top of them. Do I ever have trouble with my Posca pen scratching and spitting? Yes. When I'm working on anything that has any kind of texture, I've had that problem, like painting on canvas. They have a tendency to do that because they catch on the texture of the canvas. I've had less of an issue when I'm working on tightly sealed pieces like these art panels. I have less of an issue with them then. And I think it's quite simply because there's nothing for that point to catch on. But yes, I have had that issue. Not so much with these ones, with the 1.3, but with the 7 millimeters, I've had that problem. So what do you think? I love this. So we're going to switch over to my favorite fugly brush. And we're going to pick up a little bit of asphaltum. And I'm going to thin it out quite well. And we're going to focus the spatter on the teacup. So I'm just staying close to the teacup and spattering it with a little bit of thinned asphaltum. Oh, and of course I managed to smudge something right off the bat. There we go. So a couple of other little things that we can talk about. Some of the issues that people run into is putting lettering on straight. There's nothing worse than doing something and having your lettering going uphill. So I wanted to show you a little trick that I use. So on my image, let's set this aside to dry for a second. On my image, there is my lettering. So I'm going to grab a ruler, and I'm going to position my ruler so that it is straight and level under the lettering, and use something that you can see. Okay, so straight and level. When you get to your surface, take your ruler, and you're going to draw a straight and level line directly all the way across your surface. You're going to do that with either a watercolor pencil or a chalk pencil. Then, when you position your lettering, make sure that the line underneath this lettering lines up with the line on your surface. And then you can tape it in place. And as long as those lines meet, your lettering is going to be straight and level. Now, when I put my lettering into pieces, I do that for you. But if you have an idea, say, to change up the lettering, you want to do something different, then just print it out on a piece of paper, cut it out to size, draw the line underneath it, draw the line where you want to place it on your surface, line it up, trace and transfer it, and then paint it. That way, every time you're doing something like this, your lettering is going to be straight and level. I have seen so many beautifully painted pieces with the lettering is not quite level, and it'll drive people crazy. and it kind of takes away from a beautiful piece of artwork. So try to keep your lettering straight and level. And I'm going to do one more thing because, oh goodness, I dropped my liner.
Because you can.
Because I can. It's my party. I want to put just a couple of little highlights on the tips of these feathers here. Just texture. Is she gassed? Did you wear her out?
As best I could.
So I just wanted a little brighter highlight on the tips. You can use painter's tape too if you don't want to draw a line on it. Absolutely. Just the big thing is just make sure that whatever you're using to establish that is straight and level. So the only thing I have left to do with this piece is this. I'm just going to put my scribblature right there. And there we go.
Cattywampus?
Cattywampus. Cattywampus. That's, yeah. Out of whack.
That's my writing all the time.
Is it? That's
all
why we.
right, like, you
That's
like
why we put we put lines on paper.
I still can't follow them. Right in between the lines. I
Yep.
can't.
I love this piece. I just think it's very pretty, and it's fun to do. And I'm so glad that you guys came to paint with me today. Boop.
The not so much the wheel.
That wasn't the wheel. So don't forget, next Saturday we are painting that little washboard with the chickadee, and it's our fundraiser for our local animal shelter. It's our Feed the Puppers Fund. So any and all contributions are welcome, and if you make one on the day, your name goes on the wheel, and we have 3 finished and signed pieces of artwork, original pieces of artwork that are being given away. So we would love to have you come and join us, even if it's only for a few minutes, just to say hi, or even come and paint. We'd be happy to have you. Come and join us. We got a bunch of names on there.
Got a bunch of names.
Wow. You ready to spin it?
I'm ready.
Get your sticky notes.
Where's my sticky notes? I got my sticky notes. And I got my Sharpie.
And he's got a Sharpie. Awesome sauce.
Let's not go for that Sharpie. Maybe not.
Having trouble finding a pen that works?
So these are supposed to be fine tip.
Yeah, they're not. They're blunt. They've seen a lot of use recently. Here.
But that one's blunt too. Yep.
Oh well.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Spin.
Boop.
Pick you up?
Pick me, please.
Gail Jensen. So our giveaway for today is we have a kit for the Merry and Bright project, which is a cute little breadboard with chickadees. So we have that to give away. We have a set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes. I think it's a 3-brush set, plus some other goodies and fun stuff we put in there as well. Spin it. And don't forget that if your name is drawn on the wheel, make sure that you hop over to the website, click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and send us your shipping information. Susan Welshmeyer. Gail's surprised she won.
Is she?
Yep.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Oh, that's awesome. And Susan Welshmeyer. And
give me a second. There we go. Go on that one. Welshmeyer. Hey, you know the saying, you can't win if you don't play.
that's right. And the last one goes to Anita Morin. Yay, Anita!
Anita Morin. Yay! There we go.
All right, guys, thanks so much for coming to play again today. I can't wait to see you all next Saturday when we go live with our 12 Days of Christmas special. I love doing this one. I get so excited. We have 12 boxes filled with goodies from our various supporters. All kinds of fun stuff to give away. Stencils, molds, surfaces, patterns, you name it. We've got a whole bunch of great gifts to give away, 12 of them, as well as a chance for those that make donation to our Puppers Fund. Your name will go on the wheel, and we have 3 original pieces of artwork to send the 3 people selected from that group. So come and join us next Saturday, same time as always, 1 o'clock, or not 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's 1 o'clock my time. And come and paint with us. We'd love to have you, and can't wait to see you all. And until then, have a safe weekend. For those in the States, happy Thanksgiving. And all my Canadian friends, buckle up. There's snow's coming. So, have a great weekend, everybody. We love you. Stay safe.
Don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive. God forbid.
And pet your dog.
Absolutely.
Where's the button?
Which one are you looking for?
Press them.
You pressed them all?
No, you press them.
Oh, you want me to press
You
them?
press them.
Okay. There's that one.
The microphone?
Don't forget the microphone.
Yes, the microphone. Otherwise, it might catch us saying it.
Yeah, we want to keep our PG rating.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend.
Holy!